So in this video I'm going to be showing you how to strip down, sand back, prep and prime and colour and clear coat your brake calipers. If you're a returning viewer, please give us a thumbs up, and if you're a new viewer, consider hitting that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up as well. Now without further ado, let's crack on and do this one. So as you can see, I've got the car jacked up in the air, wheel off. I've turned this caliper so it's facing the driver's side, so I can get to the back a bit more. I'm going to use a dremel here, my dremel kit, to sand it back, get rid of all this job I've done here. This was just quick paint up, hammer right. Okay, I've got my dust mask. I'm going to get my dremel out in a minute, and I'm going to leave these on the car to do them. That way I ain't got to try and hold them when I sand them back. They can stay there. I'm just going to scuff them up, try and remove as much of this colour as I can. So I'm going to get the Dremel out now. So here's my Dremel. I'm using a Dremel 3000 with a sanding bit on the end. And I'm going to crack on and just sand it back. Did you see that? I'm going to get some goggles on because that's just kicking up dust in my face. Okay, you can see how well that's working. It's taking it right back to the bare metal, which is what you want, because I'm going to prime it. I don't know if you can see that, but obviously there's some rust under here, and someone's just painted over top of it. But by rubbing these Rattle back like this, I'm actually revealing a nice clean brake caliper. So now I'm going to remove this clip here. One. And that is, it is under so much tension on this thing. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to sand it back and give it a proper coat of purple to match the wheels. I will measure up whilst I've got it off, and I'm actually going to put a silver ST in there to match. So there's two of these, one at the top and one directly below, just here. I'm going to remove them two covers Oh, and the camera's moving down. Let's tighten it up so it can't move anywhere on the tripod. So I'm going to remove this one first. To reveal an Allen key. And then I'm going to go down the bottom and do the same on this one. Sort one down there. Then I'm going to get my 1/2 inch drive. So the piece you need to remove these two bolts is a HW7, and this is on a 3/8. So I'm going to undo this and separate the carrier from the caliper itself. So let me put the camera back around the back. In there. Same as before, crack it off. Okay, that's the actual caliper separated from the carrier. Two little pinch bolt, like two little sliding bolts there. Once they're undone, I'll just use a pair of pliers, just gently wiggle them out like that. So that's the caliper removed from the carrier. All that's left to do now is remove the carrier by the two 15mm bolts on the back to remove the disc. Once the disc's removed, I'm going to reattach the carrier and then sand that back. Then reattach the caliper, finish sanding that back, and then we're going to paint it, the carrier, paint the caliper, put it all back together. At this stage I'm not 100% sure on how I'm going to exactly go about doing this. So until I get to that stage I'm not sure, but for now I'm going to carry on. I'm going to remove this carrier. These are the two 15mm bolts. Got a 1/2 inch ratchet. But for now I'm going to carry on doing this carrier. There you go. Remove the disc. What I want to do is put the carrier back on. So now I'm going to sand the carrier a bit more with the dremel and give it a lick of paint. So as you can see, I've sanded back a bit more, done a bit on here, it's come really nice and smooth. This is all rough here, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to continue to sand it back with the Dremel, just gently, make it smooth like this. Can't wait to get these things painted. So the plan is, excuse me, I burped again. So the plan is to get these, I'm going to paint these purple to match the wheels. and the actual caliper face, this front bit here, I'm going to do silver to match the colour of the car. So, but with the difference. And I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments guys, but you see these T-bolts here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sure if I undo them, this front piece here will come away. So that means this bit will become separate from the rest of the body, which would be brilliant, and I'm sure that's what they do. But I'm sure at the time when you start seeing this, I've probably done that. So yeah, nice. I decided, do you know what, don't be lazy, let's take this off. You know, so I made a little plug with some copper piping, and connected it to this part of the line here. I'm going to make a similar sort of one to go in the end there, so no crap can get inside it. And this way I can, at least I can get this cleaned up properly and get it painted nicely as well, off the car and away from the car. That's a little update on what's going on. So as you can see, I've got the caliper off. I've carried on sanding it down, gets rid of more of the grey and the silver and everything else. What I've actually decided to do is I'll give these a good soaking penetrating fluid. Okay, these bolts here, the T55s. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my breaker bar and see if I can get some extra leverage on these to loosen them up. You can see they've had some penetrating fluid on them, they're all a bit wet looking. So hopefully with a breaker bar and a bit of leverage they will come loose. So let's get my T55. I'm going to stick this on the floor on the bit of wood it's sitting on and see what happens. So it's on the floor, got my breaker bar and everything ready. Try and crack them off. Put my foot on it for hold it in place. Oh yeah, that bit of leverage, they come off nicely. That one's cracked off. That one did. They're not actually that tight. It's just you need the leverage to get them off. So back on the bench, I've put my T55 on a 3/8, and hopefully, yep, there you go. I'm doing it by hand now. Right, okay, I've just noticed these two in the middle are actually longer than the two on the outside. So just make sure when you put them back in, you put them in the right way. Now that should break apart. It come apart quite easily. So I can now paint these two bits totally separate. Oh, so happy with that. I'm just going to use a bit of wet and dry sandpaper, 240 grit or something, and just sand it back. I'm going to do it dry. So what I'm going to do now is I've scuffed it all up. I'm going to give it a clean with some brake and clutch cleaner, make sure there's nothing on it, and then I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to give it a coat of primer, and then we're going to hit it with some silver base paint, and then I'm going to put something over that, and then I'm going to clear coat it. So now we're going to leave this to dry. It won't take too long in this heat. Brake cleaner actually evaporates quite nicely. So then we'll warm up a can of primer in some boiled water, keep the pressure up. Then we'll hit it with some primer and some silver coat, silver base paint. Okay, so I've shaken the can for a couple of minutes. This has had some time in the sun, so I'm just going to hit it. Leave that for about 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do now, while I'm waiting for that final coat of primer to tack off on that other side of the caliper, I'm going to get this part out. Okay. So with this you've got to be careful because it's got brake fluid still coming out of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a small container and I'm going to retract the piston back in and squeeze out any brake fluid there is in there to save any chance of messing up the paintwork as I'm doing it. And I'm going to put something around, I'll mask this off again, leave that, and let's go back to the other side. Also this bit's going to be a different colour. So I've been shaking some base coat for the front part of the caliper. The sun's gone away a little bit, but we should be okay. So I'm going to give this a couple of light dustings of base coat and see what happens. I'm going to move that into the sun now. So as you can see, I've given this the back part of the caliper a couple of coats of primer. I've masked off with the brake nipple and the bleed valve and everything. Look at that wind. I should be painting that today now. The wind's picked up suddenly. So off indoors I think I might go with this. So as you can see now, that's the back end of the caliper, all painted. The first coat, I'll give it one more coat after this. It'll be good to go. Some clear on it and see what happens. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a bit of flip paint over it like my wing mirrors, with the silver base coat underneath it. Try and get you a bit around. There you go, a bit of purple, a bit of violet purple, a bit of blue. Don't know if it's going to work until you try, but apparently the manufacturer of this paint said it can withstand up to 200 Celsius, and because it's not a race car, it's just a street car, it should be okay. The carrier's all painted, the caliper front and back parts are all painted silver with some flip paint on it. Don't know if you can see that, a little bit you can. And then there's the back end. It's all been clear coated. Put it back together, put it back on the car, put the wheel back on and see what we look like. So they've had a good couple of hours, I'll say about 3 hours now, to dry off. So I can touch them and handle them a little bit more. Still got to be a bit careful because the clear coat will still be soft. So I'm gonna attempt to reattach them so I can put the pieces together and then try and just carefully do that without damaging them. So I've got my T55 here to put it back together, and I've got a 3/8 drive as well to do so. So the plan is I'm going to try and just lay them gently on one side of the surface and mate them together. See, now this way it should be easier to lay them both like this and mate them up without causing too much damage to anything. Hope the plan is not to cause any damage. So make sure the bolts are lined up. Just be very gently. Start them off by hand. because once, after all this effort you've done, you don't really want to damage it. But once it's on the car, once they're on the car, you can get a small breaker bar and just nip them up a bit more, because as you see, it took me a large breaker bar to take them off. But that's that back together. The carrier's got to go in here yet, and then I've got the actual clip to finish off. I've got to rub that back and get that painted up to finish. So we are getting there. Yeah, and the fly's gone in it, I've noticed just here. Let me show you. You can just see it just there, but I can, because that's just landing on top of the clear coat, I can clear that up. But look at that, compared to what it was, and when this is sitting in there, and the carrier, that'll look nice. Like I say, you still got to be careful at this stage, because the clear coat, although it's dry to touch, you still got to be careful with it, because it will be soft. It wouldn't have gone off fully. So, but compared to what it was to what it is now, I'm chuffed with that. Okay, so now I'm going to start putting it all back together. I'm going to put the disc back on, then the carrier, and then I'm going to put the pads in, the caliper itself, and then stick it all back together. Smack the camera. Always goes down the tree. So nip them up. So the next thing is to put the pads back in the caliper. Remove the tape and everything off of here first. So this should be nice and dry now, so we can handle it a little bit more. So I'm going to balance it up like so. So I put the pads back in. Put the piston side back in first. Goes up and in. One, two, and then put the outer side pad back in. And that's that back in. Now what we're going to do is put this back over to the car, slide it over the carrier, making sure everything's lined up, and then with these sliding pins, just do them up with your HW7. So I'm going to transfer the piston from the rest of the caliper and put it over here. You've got around the back here, these two bolts here are where the slider pins attach to, and give this a clean up with some brake cleaner, and away we go. Caliper. Carefully line it up. Now put the pins in, one up top, one at the bottom. So I've done them up. Took a little while to get done. So I'm just going to get the T55 on these and give them a nip up. So we're going to give these a quick nip. One. I can't get in there with this, look. Oh, now I've got my light over. This is done with Rattle can off the shelf paint, machine silver with some flip paint over it. Links in the description to where you can buy the purple rain paint and this flip paint from. Companies are pretty good. People say that painting your calipers with normal Rattle can paint shouldn't be done. Because I'm not going to be baking these, I'm not going to be racing around the racetrack heavy braking. They shouldn't heat up too bad. And providing you've done the prep work alright, it should be okay. Only time will tell. So I've painted I've given the knuckle a bit of a paint. I haven't painted down inside the bit where the ABS sensor is. I've painted down all the sides. I've painted the disc as well with a bit of hammerite. I'm not going to spray paint them. I just thought, you know, a little bit of hammerite on them would do. And the calipers all in and looking really nice. I've got the pin bit that goes on the front here just drying in the sun now. I've painted it purple, and we'll get the wheel back on, and that's it. It's all been bled. There's no air in the system, I hope, and yeah, that's all good. So there it is, all back in. This is a pain in the backside to get back in. Trying to get it back in, I've slipped and I've scratched the paint off already. So what I done is just here I put a little bit of red rubber grease and just put a little bit in there to help slide on this, that little pin that goes in the gap on the actual pad. So I pushed this part in first and this bit in. Got that slid in, got this bit slid over. Got this bit slid over the little piece here, and then what I've done is I put a screwdriver onto the little like tab, whatever you want to call it, bit of it, and I just tapped it with a hammer just to push it in, and it popped back in. So I'm a little bit annoyed at the chip here, but what can I say? There's no point getting annoyed with it. It is what it is. But that's it, it's all back together. I'm waiting for the stickers to turn up to sit on here, the ST in silver, and that's it, job done. So there we have it, that's the caliper and everything done. I'm going to put the wheel back on now and see what it looks like all finished and complete. Let's crack on. And there we have it, guys. The wheel's back on. These are nicked up, so when I drop it to the ground, these will get done up to the right torque setting. And let's show you what that looks like. Well, there you go, tyres back on. I've just got a bit of masking tape to take off the valve here. Just drop it back on the floor and tighten the nuts up. You can't really see the caliper, but it does look tidier behind there. And that's it all back in. Do you know, and I do love this touch that I've done here, the ST220. And it's not a sticker, it's actually a part of the paint. I love it. If you haven't seen the video on how to paint these wheels, up in the cards somewhere along here, I will post a link to the playlist for them. That's really nice. So there you have it, guys. That's the calipers back on. Apart from that little scratch that happened when I was trying to put the little pin back in, other than that, it all went back together quite nicely. I'm really chuffed with it. I can't wait to get it dropped back on the floor. The centre caps, I'm going to give them a paint up and put them back in, and give them a wipe over. Yeah, I started doing the last wheel this morning as well, and cleaning it up, discovered the actual alloy has got a crack in it. It's only a small crack where the seam is around the edge of the tyre, but it's enough to let the air out and yeah, I'm not even going to bother cleaning it anymore. I'm just going to get a friend of mine to send me another alloy wheel. What else is there? Once these have all been finished, I'm going to do a few other bits, and I've got a few little products I want to share with you guys, so I'm going to show you them soon. And I'm really chuffed with the way these wheels have come out. And if you want to continue to watch the build of this car, how I'll get on with it, hit that subscribe button down here and give us a thumbs up as well. I really appreciate it. The channel's grown something really well. So for now, that's another video in the bag, as they say, and till the next time, see you soon.